be using those applications, and how would it be defined technically, and how would it be financed. So I let them present their 3 ideas.
Hello. So first, we have a problem with boats. The problem we have with boats is it's complicated now to monitor them and to track them. And so we know that some boats, and especially fishing boats, are doing some illegal activities, and it is very complicated to monitor and to track. So what we propose is with satellite data, and especially optical data, we're pretty confident that in the next 10 years, we will have access to around 30 centimeter resolution satellites with good revisit. And these would allow us to measure and detect pollution, either plastic pollution or oil leaks. It would allow us to monitor for fishing techniques, for example, if the boat has a very large net and estimating the bottom of the ocean, for example. It would also allow us to monitor the fish species that are being fished and eventually that are protected. For example, whales, for example, if we find that some whales are disappearing in the boat. But also monitor the geographical area, because if we can track the boat and especially find its origin and the nearest cargo it has been attached to, we can say if the boat has something to do in a designated geographical area. For example, if we've got a Chinese boat fishing in African Sea, it has something to do there. So these are things that we can detect and that we can monitor.
So next we'll store all the data in a database and analyze all the data with an artificial intelligence. This artificial intelligence will analyze if we have a strange activity. If we have a strange activity, we will store the activity in a blockchain, in a ledger, and send an alert, create an alert, in order to public alert, in order to alert everyone about possible illegal fishing, or if the boat do have a problem, it can be interesting for the boat in order to track if you have a problem. So the client can be some ONG, can be some national authorities, or also it can be the fishing company. In fact, if the boat have a problem, it can be interesting for them, you know, to see, to track their boat and to see if the boat have a problem and prevent them.
So what we present is an open ledger, protected and uncorruptible, that will detect any anomalies in the boat activities, and then depending on the anomalies can be addressed or addressed by the company themselves or by the authorities.
So hello everybody, and thanks for being here. We'll now present the solution that we created with our company, Leakage. So the first problem we have here is that residential heating accounts for more than 20% of the carbon footprints we have today. And in order to reduce that, we aimed at reducing the thermal leakage we have in the buildings. So the solution that we present today is to tackle climate change by detecting, by understanding, and by monitoring the heat losses in the buildings using satellite data. Thanks.
So the technical solution we like to propose in order to detect heat losses from building relies on 2 main actors. First actors are satellite imagery data provider, for example, such as Hydrosat, a startup that we just meet today, and their plan as of next year already to launch satellites in order to build detailed thermal map of Earth. With this thermal map that we will purchase, we intend to identify heat losses from buildings. The second key actors are individuals who either just want to save energy or to help fight climate change. These individuals, we will collect IoT, for example, data or in situ thermostat data, and the technical solution will take advantage of data fusion in order to merge satellite level data imagery, so this thermal maps, but also this in situ data, in order to best fine-tune anomalous detection of heat loss from buildings.
And we identified 4 types of clients. First, governments. They're spending a lot of money on building renovation to avoid heat losses, whether it is through incentives or through France Relance plan, for instance, in France. Then we have building renovation companies to help them identify potential new clients. Then we have the companies themselves for at least 2 reasons. First is to spare energy, and then it's more for marketing reasons. Nowadays, companies want to appear greener, and they want to claim out loud that their buildings or their factories do not have any heat losses. Last but not least, the citizens. We would provide for free our service to the citizens if they share with us their data coming from either a connected thermostat or from a IoT temperature sensor, for instance. So this is how satellites can help tackling the heat losses problem, which is a crucial problem to address regarding climate change. Thank you.
Hi guys. Okay, so let me present you very quickly the idea we had together with the roundtable called UNOOSA. So just to give you a bit of context, we were first thinking about maybe technologies around climate change, but really most of it has been done already. So rather than changing the data, we wanted to attack the practicality problem. Have you ever tried to use multiple data from multiple satellites? It's really hard because you got to get for every single website and recover the data. So one idea we had was to create a platform where you could get every kind of data. So let me explain myself. You would go on the website where you have the whole map. You could choose a specific area and a specific time, and then you would get access to all types of data. I mean temperature, wind speed, hygrometer, and cover, you name it. And then the idea is that we aggregate this data via satellites, public data, planes flying around, radio sounding, ground sensor, anything. The idea is that we offer a special service. We offer public data and paid data. The public data would be data you could acquire from any satellite, like Sentinel, UNOOSA, you name it. And then paid data would be, let's say, a private satellite that doesn't care about the particular data in itself to go public. So we could actually help him get this data through us and sell it some. We can also explain data. What I mean by that is someone can come to us and say, okay, I'm interested in knowing a bit about this place in particular. And since we have all the information, what we can do is a small presentation, give you the data in a nice package, and then you can come home with your whole presentation. And of course, we have a network access, because if you're interested in data acquisition, well, we can get you in touch with people looking for sensor, and maybe you could ask someone to put a sensor in your field and add your data to the whole process. So who are our users? Mostly researchers looking for data, all kinds of data. But you could also think of private companies, because now and today I think information and information prediction is a really major component of modern technology. And of course governments, because I think it's important to monitor your own place. So just to give you a quick overview of how it would look like, you could go over any map, let's say Madagascar, and you would get kind of a array, a portfolio, what you could get, like imagery, but also in situ data, public data, private data. Of course, if you want private data, you would have to invest some. But the idea is that you have everything in one place, just from one click. Next slide, please. So, the fallout of climate change, but that's the topic. It would be easier access for scientists, so that's a good plus. Also, public's awareness, because since it's all public, well, everyone is aware. And there's also an incentive to share data, since it's an easy marketplace. When you can go and sell your data, you have interest in developing data and putting it on the market. And if you ask yourself a bit more financially how this would work, well, I think we would start with free data and government funding. Let's say go to investors from governments and only start with free basic data from public satellites. Then, over time, we'd build influence and get some legitimacy and maybe some private partner relations. And over time, we could do specific contracts and the whole cross-advertising thing if we get to work with sensor companies. Revenues would be with the premium data in consulting contracts. One last thing you might ask yourself is why it's called ArgoSat? It's because together we're one, and just like Argos, we see everything. Thank you.
To make concrete recommendation how United Nations could better include space service in sustainable development goals. We split the roundtable in 3 subtopics: mobilities, energy transition, and connecting people and territories. And each group had to make 5 recommendations. We won't present all of them now because we don't have the time. But it was better if they could include some emerging areas such as Africa, South Asia, and South America. So it's you on stage, and I think the first group to start is a group about energy transition.
Hello everybody, my name is Charlie and I was on the group who worked on the energy transition for the city in the world. So when we have a complex subject like that, the first thing to do is to define our subject. So energy transition could be applied on energy production, energy transportation, energy storage, and energy usage. We decide to concentrate our mind on the transportation. After that, we choose what kind of the energy we will treat. There are nuclear energy, thermic energy, electrical energy, and we choose to focus our mind on the chemical energy. So the chemical energy is oil, gas, or petroleum. So to define our solution, we define 4 topics. Transportation means route optimization, tracking, and monitoring.
So when it comes to our 4 recommendations, I will describe them very quickly before going more into depth to the first one. So the first one is providing developing countries with a custom energy transportation strategy based on multi-source data from space and local data collected with the population and like that. The second one is scaling up the hydrogen production, transportation, and storage, relying on the expertise and experience that the space industry, especially in Europe, has developed in the past decades. The third one is pipeline predictive maintenance based on IoT data for large-scale monitoring, and also by looking at high-resolution Earth observation data for target monitoring, very precise monitoring. And the last one is a social and environmental study of the implementation of new power plants in new countries, for example, based on both in situ data and remote sensing.
So about this first recommendation, we think about Earth observation satellite information to gather information and build a temperature map, a river map, a topographic map, and so we can build infrastructure on the good place.
Hi, our group worked on how to use space data to make more sustainable mobilities and to improve smart areas. We worked on 4 recommendations. First one is about containers. As some of you may know, on average, more than 1,500 containers are lost to the sea every year. So that's a lot, and moreover, it is almost impossible to track down every container during their journey. To reduce sea pollution, overconsumption, and to improve the efficiency of maritime transportation, we propose to create a law to oblige containers owners to track down their containers using space IoT. The second one is about, second one is about climate change migration. Also, as you may know, 60% of the population are currently living in areas at risk of climate change, like rising waters, like hotspots, earthquakes, etc. We propose to use space data to identify these areas at risk in order to predict the migrations in the future, the population that will migrate, and also to propose a relocation zone. Our next topic is about light pollution. Because light pollution is a disaster. It's a disaster for stargazing. It's a disaster for energy consumption. It's disrupting also biodiversity and impacting human life. With more than 5 billion light points in the world currently, we propose to install a new innovative smart lighting system. It is autonomous thanks to solar panels. It is eco-friendly, infrastructure-free for emerging countries as well, and it can adapt itself to human habits and monitored thanks to also space IoT. At last but not least, we propose you 3 ideas using space applications to build a more sustainable Earth. But these applications also need the sustainable space to thrive. With more than 22,000 objects larger than 10 centimeters orbiting Earth, we need to accelerate research, regulations, and technologies for debris mitigation. We need to improve our space situational awareness capabilities to develop debris catching spacecraft. We also need to encourage the object avoidance systems for spacecraft. We strongly believe in our team that space technologies and application will impact greatly our daily lives to help us face the challenges of tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, my name is Judith. Hi. My team and I worked on the connection between people and territories. As this is quite a broad subject, we decided to reduce it a little bit, and we focused on how to improve the connectivity of rural areas thanks to space systems and while answering the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So we came up with several recommendations. Don't worry, I'm not going to go through all of them. So we focused on reinforce the access to education, the protection of the environment, as well as the international policies to achieve sustainable progress. As one of the main goals of the UN is to improve the quality of education and reduce the inequalities, I'm going to focus on the education. So we think that the key to bring better access to the education is to actually bring better access to the information. And to do so, we recommend the United Nations to engage countries to improve their satellite coverage and revisit time, so that they can give better access to online and offline information and studying content focusing for the teachers. Therefore, teachers should have better access to information, and they will be able to better educate the people and the population in the rural areas. We think that space should broaden access to education in rural areas, as education is the first step to growth. Thank you.
Okay. Hey, I'm Charles. I'm the moderator of the Roundtable 3, and this roundtable focused on the future of the International Space Station and how to diversify the ISS activities to create new opportunities in the next years. So we focused on 3 different thematics. First, space art and culture, science and technology, and then space tourism. So the delegates provided recommendations on the diversification of the activities and also on the evolution of its accessibility.
Okay, so we first, on this first group, we worked on the art and cultural aspects of the reuse of the ISS. And we started with a statement, which is art shares with space the power to bring people together, inspire them, and go over their limits, and also to induce a cultural shift. And as ISS is a monument, and artists have the power to enlighten those monuments, and so they are key to bring people's interest towards space and impact of the whole. Yes. So we have three main recommendations. Maybe that space access providers should include a collective art project as part of their mission, which can be either material or immaterial, or parts of the time or fraction of time. And also to create a committee inside the United Nations in order to discuss the guidelines of art missions, what should be done, what should not be sent into space regarding art. And that collective art projects include artists from countries that don't have already access to space nor the ISS. Thank you.
Okay, so what we focused on is the biotech industry. It's one of the biggest industries in the world, and we know it can get benefits from outer space. So what was our subject? Provide recommendations on the diversification of the ISS activities and the evolution of its accessibility in the field of life science. So how are we going to solve this problem? Well, first of all, we started thinking, what's the benefit of carrying out bioscience in zero-G environments? Well, we found four of them. First of all, especially in the International Space Stations, we benefit of its ecosystem. So we're talking pressurization, large amounts of power, which you wouldn't be able to get on CubeSat missions, for example. Human presence, also something that you can only get in a space station. Now, concerning biotech more precisely, we've got better cell growth, unmatched protein crystal growth, and improved self-growth on materials for microfluidics. These are things that have been identified by the company with which we were looking at this project, which is URI, and we think that these are important advantages which need to be seized. So why has it not been done at a scale? Well, there's a big problem. Firstly, there's high risk, and this means that big companies are going to have cold feet whenever they're going to want to get into these industries. But secondly, and most importantly for us, it's awareness. If I told you to launch a student satellite, you'd immediately think, okay, CubeSat, this is how I'm going to do it. But if I say, oh, I want you to launch an event, an experiment on biotech on the space station, most of you don't know what the procedure is, you don't know what the format is. So what we want to address that is with our inspiration, the CubeSat system. So we focus our recommendations on three arguments: education, standardization, and simplification. So, as our recommendations, we started with a greater push for space agencies and governments to standardize structures. We want this environment so that everybody knows what needs to be done, what are the tools. The same way you have a free unit CubeSat, you need to have these units for this onboard experiments. We want to standardize the tools for biotechnology experiments, especially for students. So this is the most important. When CubeSat was first invented, it wasn't to address the big companies straight away, it was addressing students, small budget companies. And this is what we want to do. We want to start with the young generation, get them going, and then the big companies will jump in when their leadership notices the importance it gains. Now, modernizing the International Space Regulatory Standard to match the new space initiatives. We identified this as a major issue when small companies try to innovate, but they find themselves with loads of documents from varying agencies and aren't able to apply their knowledge immediately. Finally, our last recommendation is on education, and this would be the implementation of a remote laboratory to allow students, and this is not university, it could be university, but we're opening it to high school and all sorts around the world to give them the opportunity to know about this space, to teach them about what can be done in space. These are the four recommendations we believe can make the biggest impact in this industry. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Karin. I have the honor of being the last, so I'll try to be brief, so that you can still enjoy the cocktails, of course. So our group focused on commercialization and space tourism. And we have several recommendations about that, but actually primarily is that we strongly believe that commercialization will also help bring costs down to for the access, in terms of access to space. And this will be very important actually for developing countries and for countries that currently do not have access to space to also get there. In order to have such commercialization, we believe that there is a need for the legal framework about it. But it should not be too strict and it should not be too many red tape. So we propose basically to set up sort of task force who can basically set up an international set of play rules by which commercialization of space can take place. Secondly, we strongly believe in what we call a strategy to reuse the International Space Station, and we on purpose put components between brackets. We see that in three ways. Firstly, I think we can all acknowledge that the International Space Station has played a very important political role in bringing a lot of countries together and bringing a lot of seemingly impossible companies and positions together in one place. So let's say one of the first steps that we would like to propose is to rename the International Space Station as a sort of UN heritage or a sort of UNESCO heritage. But further on, we could also see a path where we can reuse components of the International Space Station, perhaps for commercial space stations. Because in the end, currently there is perhaps 400 tons of raw material in space floating there, and why let it go burn down in the atmosphere if we could reuse it in some fashion? And lastly, we could also think about preserving components of the International Space Station, for instance by putting them in a graveyard orbit, or perhaps even landing them on the moon or something similar like that. In part, basically also to preserve the heritage. But perhaps it can also link to the first step, because if we have some components somewhere in a position, it can act as a destination for space tourism, which can then bring more money and more funding into the commercialization. And lastly, we also strongly believe in acknowledging the power of the overview effect. Here we were thinking a bit broad and a bit wide, but perhaps in a far future, we could see a position in which, let's say, diplomatic or high-level diplomatic, how's it called? I lost the word, but anyway, where they come together and they try to discuss on agreements and, for instance, to end wars or things like that, that we could perhaps somehow take these things out of space and let diplomats discuss these things whilst they are enjoying the overview effect. That's, in a nutshell, our ideas. And you can read more in detail on the next slide, but you can do this afterwards. So for now, let's enjoy the cocktails.
Thank you so much, everyone. Very cool recommendation coming from the roundtable of 2 and 3. So we're going to go on the last part of today's event. And going straight to the closing ceremony, I invite Pauline to come here and talk a little bit about how we can be more involved in the GAC. And after doing an event like this, maybe you might like to want to be a bit more involved, so I let her explain. So thank you again for joining this event. We hope that you enjoyed it. And here are some tips on how to get involved within the GAC. So we have different activities. I will not enter into too much detail about each one, but trying to highlight the task or the activity that might interest you. So we are organizing events like those ones, bigger ones also at the regional and international scale. We will invite Victoria, that is the deputy event manager for the SGC Dubai this year, to talk and say a few words about the Space Generation Congress. We also have different project group activities, so 11 different topics. So if you are interested, you can just reach out to the project group coordinators of those project groups and just get in touch and see how you could help. There are some, also to run all the activities that we are doing, we offer some vacancies, so you can join and try to develop your skills and your competencies within SGC. We organize scholarships to participate to the different events, especially the regional and international ones. And we have some activities at the UN where we present the outputs of the different events and activities, especially within the project group that we do. So we have then a real voice at the UN. Few words about SGC.
Yes, so if you
event and would like to do more, something like 3 days of this in a destination a bit further away from France, then you are most welcome to apply still to be a delegate and part of SGC, the Space Generation Congress, which is the largest event that SGAC hosts year by year. It's just before the IAC, which is the International Astronautical Congress. And so yes, our deadline for the applications is still open. We extended it until July 6th, so you have 3 days. We will be hosting this year 70 people in person and the remaining 80 online. So, you know, there are options if you cannot make it across to Dubai. And yeah, we'll be having 8 working groups. So kind of how we had some discussion groups today, we'll have 8 of those. And there are a ton of scholarships to attend. So keep an eye out for those. They usually cover, you know, flights out, attendance to the Congress, and even entry to the IAC itself. So yeah. And just in terms of more to look forward to, next year the IAC is coming to Paris. So we will be having our own SGC prior to that in Paris too. And so that means we will be looking for a team. So in July 2021, we'll be hosting our logo competition for the event. So, you know, we've had your fantastic logo for SG France in Lille. We'll have the same for Paris in 2022. So if you have creative abilities and want to contribute to that, please check out the posting that will come out, you know, later this month, hopefully. In December 2021, we'll be putting the call out for a deputy manager. So if you want to join me on this crazy adventure and learn how to work in a very diverse set of, with a diverse set of people to make the Congress happen, to invite the fantastic speakers to have a conversation with us on different space topics, then please keep an eye out for those postings. And the full team will be the call for that will be in March the following year, and so on. So yeah, I mean, overall we're at the initial phases of it. So we're happy to brainstorm together. So if you have any ideas on venues, sponsors, speakers that you would like to see there, activities that you want to see happen, and that's the whole point of SGAC. So it's an open door to just, you know, reach out and give your inputs on that. So thank you.
Of all the topics that are covered by the project group. So if you're interested in one, you can just go check out the SGAC website and contact the team in charge. The vacancies, so we offered a lot of vacancies as I told you. Here is the current vacancies that are open, so you can either join event organizing team, join the peer and com if you're interested. If you are looking for an internship, there is one that just came out on the SGAC website. So again, here is the link to join SGAC. There is also the mentorship program that enables to connect students and young professionals, SGAC members, to space professionals. So there are phases where the mentorship program is open. Either for the mentees or the mentors. So again, just check out, and if you are interested in that, you can join the mentorship program. And here is the list of the things that you can do to be more or less active within the organization. So you can just become a member. Normally, if you attended this event, we requested you to join and to sign up on the SGAC website. It's a free membership, so just feel free. And then when you register, you are asked if you want to join a mailing list. So feel free to join the French one, the European one, or any of the newsletter, the mailing list of the different project groups. You can choose more than one. You can join the SGAC Slack, and if you have any question about the Slack, you can just request Florian Marmuse here. He's the animator and the moderator of this Slack. You can contact us, your NPOC, so either Guillaume or I, and we'll be super excited to answer all the questions that you may have about the activities that we are doing in France. You can follow SGAC on social media. You can tweet about SG France 2021 as well using the hashtag SG France 2021. And if you want to get more involved, as I said, you can join a project group. You can keep an eye on the vacancies that are open and join one, apply. And again, you can attend events. You can also look out for scholarships to attend those events. So yeah, just join the network. And thank you again for attending.
Alright, so we avoid a little poll because it might take a little bit of time, but we will send you by email some questions to ask you about your general feeling about the day and the different topics that were tackled and every question that we might ask. So one last thing, big thank for all the sponsors that we had today once again, because without them we couldn't have done anything interesting today. We couldn't even come here to do the event here. So please applause one last time all the sponsors. You can still talk with them in the room next to us when they will be here for the networking cocktail. Sorry. So yes, please feel free to talk with the representative of the classes. Then, thank you for all the speakers and all the experts that were here today. Wonderful speeches, inspirational speeches this morning, and we're very glad to have your input on the different topics and also your motivational input as well. And also for the experts for their expertise on each roundtable. And finally, I think this is thank you for the space generation just before. Yes, because Space Generation Advisory Council have been very, very present for us. It's not only a team of 15 people that have been working on this, it's especially thanks to the help of the teams from SGAC. So we have a sponsoring team, we had the regional coordinator team, the communication team, etc. That we really want to thank, because once again we wouldn't be here today. So thank you again for all of this. Thank again my team, because it is very cool to work with them for 8 months, and without them I wouldn't have been able to do it alone, but obviously I'm not doing that alone. So thank you for all the team, for your devoting, for your implication, for your hard work every time we were meeting on Tuesdays, and it has been a real pleasure every day to work with you. So now we rest again.